Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. This podcast is dedicated to EAS employees of the U.S. Postal Service and members of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us for today's episode. And now, here's your host, Robert Wakefield.
Good morning, Branch 32, and good morning, Naps family, wherever you are listening in this great country of ours. Oh, wow. That was nice. It's so good to have you on the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. I am your host and president of Branch 32, Robert Wakefield. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we got a great show lined up for you, so let's get right to it. But we'll do that right after we pour our first cup. Since 1925, the Nashville Post Office Credit Union has been right here in Middle Tennessee, serving postal employees, their families, and our community with honest banking you can count on. Whether you're saving for something big, applying for a loan, or just looking for a place that treats you like a member and not a number, we're here for you. Visit us at 10 Rachel Drive or online anytime. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. And for our first cup this morning, we're going to continue our series on the 651.3 and the ELM, but today's episode is going to be called The Supervisor's Mindset. Have you ever noticed how two supervisors can have the same tools, the same policies, the same staffing, and the same mail volume? Okay, I know this is a stretch, but work with me here. And yet when you walk into their units, they feel completely different. One supervisor walks in and the room tightens up. Another supervisor walks in and the people breathe easier. It's the same job, it's the same handbook, just a different mindset. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode, that ELM 651.3 isn't just magic ink on a paper. It's a leadership mindset. And without that mindset, the tools that we've been talking about will not work. So, as we have spent several episodes talking about, 651.3 talks about coaching. And it gives us that. And we talked about that in an earlier podcast. We also talked about mentoring and how important that is. And then we talked about a shared responsibility between the supervisor and the employee, how important that was. And then, of course, Lynn, last Saturday, we talked about reinforcement. But here's the truth. You can't use any of these tools effectively if you're operating from a reactive, defensive, or a punitive mindset. Now, did you catch that? You can't use any of these tools effectively if you're operating from a reactive, defensive, or punitive mindset. A supervisor who sees every mistake as a threat will never be able to coach well. A supervisor who sees employees as problems will never mentor well. A supervisor who sees themselves as the only adult in the room will never share responsibility well. And finally, a supervisor who sees reinforcement as extra work will never build trust. So 651.3 assumes something a little bit deeper, that you believe people want to succeed and your job is there to help them get there. And that is the mindset shift. We're going to talk about 3 mindset shifts that every EAS and NAPS leader has to make. And the first one is going from fixing problems to developing people. Most new supervisors walk in thinking their job is to put out fires. But that's not what 651.3 says. It says, no, your job is to grow people so the fires won't start. Now, think about that. That's a huge shift right there. That's a huge mindset. Number 2, from I'm in charge to I'm responsible for the climate. Now, we cannot control everything, but you can absolutely control your tone and the tone. Your tone becomes the team's tone, if you will. Your stress becomes their stress, and your calm becomes their calm. And the third mindset is from why did they do that to what do they need from me? Now, this is the coaching mindset. It's only curious, it's not judgmental. And it's forward looking, not backward blaming. So here's a story that can illustrate this, the supervisor who changed the room. Supervisor realized that, he said this, he said, I realized I was walking into the unit every morning like a storm cloud. And everyone reacted to me instead of the work. Now, he didn't change the mail volume. He didn't get more staffing. He didn't get a new building. The thing he changed was himself. And this is what he started doing. He started greeting people by name. You know, I've actually heard of postmasters and supervisors who will walk into the office, not say a word to a single employee, shut the door behind them, and disappear for 8 hours. And then walk back out of the post office and not speak a word to anyone. Boy, that's a tough way to manage. That's just a really tough way to manage. But when you start greeting people by name, they know that you know who they are. So in this example, this supervisor started greeting people by name. He started asking questions instead of giving orders. He started coaching early instead of correcting late. And he started reinforcing wins instead of only pointing out misses. And here's what happened. The room changed. That didn't happen overnight, but it happened steadily. And that's 651.3 in action. It's not because he used a tool. It's because he changed his mindset. So these 4 questions can kind of keep you in line with the spirit of ELM 651.3. Here's the first question. Who needs coaching today? Not because they're failing, but because they're growing. Now, that's a great question. Who needs coaching today? I love the way that mindset works. Number 2, who can I mentor today? Not to fix a problem, but to build a future. Someone that you've talked to about casing, for example, and you notice that you're trying to do a good job and you want them to be able to case, so you go and you mentor them and you try to build their future. Where can I share a responsibility today? Not to necessarily offload work from me, but to build ownership. And question 4 is, what can I reinforce today? Not because it's required, but because it builds trust. Now, if you ask yourselves these 4 questions every day, you're living 651.3. And the payoff is amazing. When supervisors adopt this mindset, 3 things can happen. Employees stop hiding mistakes because they know that you'll coach them and not punish them. The next thing that happens is performance improves naturally because people rise when they feel supported. And the climate becomes healthier because trust is like oxygen. And here's the kicker. You spend less time on discipline because you spend more time on development. And that's the whole point. So my thing is, the mindset is so important. And I know what some of you supervisors are going to tell me. I already know of one right now. I don't get any of this from my plant MDO. I don't get any of this from my MPU or POOM. I don't get any of these kind of things from my immediate boss. And you're right. You don't. And they need to hear this message just as bad as we do. And while I cannot control how these upper managers operate, I can't control how you operate either as far as that is concerned. But I want to make this podcast an encouragement to you. Because listen, your job out there is not easy. And as one of my listeners pointed out, the biggest problem that we have is support from our upper managers. They need to develop this mindset as well. District people, area people, headquarters people, wherever you are in this organization, this mindset should be adopted amongst all of us, because let's get right down to it. It's just mail. We've got to get it delivered every day. We've got to go out there and serve our customers. We've served the public. That's what our job is. And if I have a problem with something, I need to be able to trust my immediate manager so that I can go to them and ask them questions. Not feel threatened every time something goes wrong. How many telecons are you told to be on because your office didn't make the cut? And how many times has your immediate supervisor, your MDO or whatever, asked the question, what do you need from me today? This mindset is not just for us as supervisors and postmasters. It's for the entire organization. And will that ever happen? I don't know. I hope that you can control your part of this wonderful universe we call the Postal Service and do what you can. So let me give you a challenge for the week. Pick one of those mindset shifts, just one, and practice it for the next 4 or 5 days. Now, you don't have to be perfect with it. Just be intentional with it. 651.3 isn't about being a perfect supervisor. It's about being the present supervisor, the engaged supervisor, the one who believes that people can grow and leads like it. And when you lead that way, the whole workplace breathes a little bit easier. All right. That's all for our first cup. Let's go ahead and pour that second cup. When your money is handled with care, life just runs smoother. At the Nashville Post Office Credit Union, we've spent over a century helping members save smarter, borrow easier, and plan with confidence. From checking and savings to great loan rates and mobile banking, we make everyday finances feel a little lighter. Join a credit union that knows your name and understands your world. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. And for our second cup this morning, I wanted to give a quick reminder to members of Branch 32. Your next branch meeting is coming up on May the 19th. That's a week earlier than we normally do it due to the Memorial Day holiday. So we moved it up a week. So it's May the 19th. The time is at 6 p.m. It will be at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. It'll last about an hour. So be sure to try to make it to that meeting if you can. And we would love to see everybody. And if you've not attended a branch meeting wherever you're listening, then what's going on with you? You need to get to a branch meeting. Now, we've talked before on this podcast the benefits of being a member of NAPS, and one of those is being able to connect with people in your district, in your area, to talk about things that affect you. We've had some very interesting meetings here lately, and I think that because you attend meetings, you just have a chance to share things with others that you may not get to share with everyone else. So it's a great time. If you don't go to a branch meeting, you need to do that as soon as you can. It's so interesting to look at all across the country how branches meet. Some of them meet once a quarter. Some of them meet twice a year. Some of them meet every single month. We meet 10 months a year, and so it's a great thing for us to get together and just to talk about things of interest of NAPS. So, just a reminder that Branch 32, again, your meeting is this coming Tuesday, May the 19th at 6 p.m. at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. All right. So that's going to do it for today's episode of the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast, and it's presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. I really wish you would share this with all of your branch. Speaking of branches, send this to them. If you get this podcast as far as an email reminder or on your wherever you get your podcast, send it to one of your friends. We're trying to make this thing grow, and I can't do it without you. So thanks so much for doing that. All right. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, every great weekend starts with a great cup of Joe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Robert Wakefield and do not necessarily reflect the views of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. We welcome your questions and comments, so send those to SaturdayCupofJoe@gmail.com.